Good evening and good morning to many of you. My name is Ramya Srinidhi and I live in Bangalore, India. I would like to call myself a very passionate storyteller, and I strongly believe that the stories choose the storyteller and its audience. So I'm fortunate that this story has chosen me as a teller and you as an audience. So my story this evening is an adaptation from a short story written by Katherine Mansfield, A Cup of Tea. Rajani is not somebody that you could call beautiful, good looking, or pretty. Well, not if you took her in pieces. But why be so cruel to take someone in pieces, right? However, she was very young, brilliant, exquisitely well dressed, and the parties that she would throw were a beautiful mixture, a delicious mixture, I must say, of important people, artists, some quiet creatures, sometimes discoveries of her own, some of them too difficult for words, but they were always interesting and amusing. Rajni was married for the last 2 years. She had married Vikram Rathod, the most wealthiest businessman in town. They were rich, really rich. If Rajni wanted to go for shopping, she would probably go to a Paris or a London, like you and I would go to an MG road or a commercial street. And when she wanted to buy flowers, her car would pull into the most quietest flower shop on High Street. Rajni would walk in and look at all those flowers in an exotic gaze, and she would say, yeah, and a jar of roses. Yes, my dear, I'll take all the roses. No, lilac, no, they don't have any shape, she would say. And the storekeeper would very promptly pack them for her. It was one cold afternoon, probably in the month of May or June. Heavy rains were still lashing the city. Rajani had gone to an antique shop, a very small shop on Church Street. She loved going here mostly because she could have the entire shop for herself, and the shop owner was ridiculously fond of serving her. This, madam, this one is an exquisite piece. I have kept it just for you, he said. And he handed her a box, a snuff box, an ivory snuff box, beautifully carved, of a man and woman deeply in love, standing under a beautiful tree. The flowers, the leaves were so intricately carved. Rajani looked at the snuff box. She wondered how pretty, how beautiful it looked on her hand. How amazing it would be on that center table. Beautiful. And the price? She said. 1,20,000, ma'am, said the shopkeeper. Hmm. Rajani left the box on the table. Even if I were rich, she said to herself, I will be back. You will keep that box for me, will you? Of course, ma'am. Rajni walked out of the store. She was standing outside the store. It was still very heavy rains. It was dark, heading towards the dusk. Suddenly, there was a thin, dark woman standing near Rajini's elbow with a voice almost like a sob. Can I speak to you, ma'am? Speak to me? Rajini looked at this weak, tattered lady, maybe younger than her, of course, with big eyes and raincoat, her clothes almost soaked in the rain. What do you want? Ma'am, can I can I please get some money just for a cup of tea, ma'am? Nothing else, said the voice. Rajni looked at this girl who looked rather innocent. She was almost trembling in the cold. You don't have any money at all? She said. No, ma'am. Suddenly, it all seemed like an adventure for Rajni. It seemed like a very interesting adventure, rather. Uh, what if, what if I took this girl back home with me? What if I, what if I took care of her? What if I gave everything that she wanted? It would be exactly like those novels that I have read of Dostoevsky, Meeting in the Dusk, uh, like those things that I have seen on movies or read on books, she thought to herself. And she was excited. Come home with me. I will get you some tea, said Rajni. The girl stopped trembling for a while, looked right into Rajni's eyes, and said, Ma'am, I'm, I just don't need anything, ma'am. All I just need some money. I'll just have, I'll just have a cup of tea, ma'am, just at the corner of the street. Oh, come on, my dear. Why don't you come home with me? We would sit together and we'll have tea. Of course, you should come with me. And Rajni held her hand, feeling rather excited. Imagine what it would feel like when she presented this girl at her kitty parties. I just picked her up from the street, you know, she would tell her friends. The car just drove in with the driver, got out and opened the back door for Rajni. Come on, my dear, she said. Hungry people are easily led. Quickly, they both sat in the car. Rajni was thinking to herself, how interesting, how excited it would be. And why wouldn't she be nice to this little girl? I wanted to prove to her that wonderful things can happen. Fairy godmothers are real. Rich people have hearts. And women are sisters, she thought to herself as the car raced on the streets. Soon the car reached Rajini's residence, a huge mansion of sorts. The gate was opened by the security and they drove through a beautiful kept lawn on the right side as they reached the main door. The door was open and Rajini walked in with this girl. The girl, as she stepped inside Rajini's house, looked at those expensive chandeliers, those curtains, marble flooring, the furniture, and she was just looking at all of that in awe. Rajini stood there in the corner. The girl admired her house. Come with me, she said. She held her hand and took her right to the first floor balcony. It was a beautifully huge balcony which had a metal swing, a sofa, a few chairs, a coffee table, and of course it opened into their lovely lawn. Rajini made the girl sit down and said, You are soaking wet. I think I should even give you something to wear. Sit here, my dear. Rajini pulled a sofa next to her, held her hand, and said, Now tell me all about yourself. Tell me your story, and I would love to hear. Go ahead. The girl was almost trembling now. In a very weak voice, she said, Ma'am, I think I'm going to faint any minute. I'm, I'm just feeling very cold. All I need is a cup of tea, ma'am. Oh, how silly of me. Tea! She screamed as she rang the bell. Get us some tea and some biscuits, some butter biscuits, Rajni ordered. Soon there was some hot tea in a kettle. Rajani poured a cup of tea into the girl's cup and watched the girl drink one, two, three cups of tea. Just then there were footsteps, and Rajani's husband, Vinay, walked in. He looked at Rajani and was not really expecting anybody home. Oh, come in, my dear, said Rajani. Look, this is my friend. I got her from the streets. She is. Oh, uh, I haven't even asked you your name. What's your name, my dear? Uh, I'm Tara. Of course. Look, Tara is my friend, and Tara is going to be here with us for a while, and we have amazing things planned. I have something planned for her. Vinay gave his charming smile and signaled his wife to meet him in the living room. Rajani quickly walked into the living room where her husband was sitting on the chair. Dear, what is this? Explain, he said. Oh, Rajani was excited. She told all about how she had met her, what she had planned for her, and what all she had in mind for this young girl. Vinay was looking at his crazy wife and all her ideas. He picked up his cigarette, he lit it, took a puff, and told his wife, That's very sweet of you, my dear. Well, I'm glad your friend is staying for a while. We'll get to know her more. She's astonishingly pretty. What did you say? Pretty? Oh, did you see that? I mean, I, I didn't even think about it, said Rajni. Come on, my dear. Good Lord. Did you didn't you notice those big eyes, those lovely long hair? I'm sure she's very gorgeous. Anyways, I'll get to know more as she's staying here for a while, he said, and he casually picked up the magazine that was lying on the table. Rajani walked back a few steps, still staring at her husband who was reading the magazine. She dashed straight into her bedroom. She sat there in front of the mirror. She darkened her eyes a little bit. Pretty. She dabbed some powder, colored her lips a little bit, and she reached out to her purse. She picked up a checkbook, dropped it back. She picked 500 notes, put it back in there, picked 200 notes. Still looking at the mirror, and walked straight into the balcony. About an hour or so, she came back to the living room where her husband was still sitting there with the magazine. She was now wearing a different dress, wearing a most expensive perfume from Paris as she walked inside. Uh, Vinay, I just wanted to let you know that Tara is not staying back for dinner. She just said she had to leave. She had some other appointments, she said. Oh, what a shame, said Vinay. Too bad she had to leave. And he continued to look at the magazine. Rajni came and sat very close to her husband, looked right into his eyes, and she said, uh, uh, I had something to ask you. Uh, this afternoon I had been to an antique shop, and there was a beautiful snuff box. It's about a lakh and 20. Can I please have it? I loved it. A lakh and 20? Oh my God, you spoiled queen. If you like it so much, go ahead and have it, he said. Well, that's not what exactly Rajni wanted to ask. She went really close to her husband, dropped a kiss, and said, "My dear, am I pretty?" That is the end of my story. Thank you so much for listening.
Very beautifully told, but I'm a little confused. What happened to Tara?
Rajini sent her off with 200 rupee notes.
Because
What do you think, Eric? Why? Maybe the
because the
women will
husband
answer.
said because someone said she was pretty?
Yes.
Psychology.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
The way you
Yes.
slowed down at the end, I thought perhaps, I mean, I had the fantasy that somehow Tara had inhabited the wife's body and Tara had taken over. But that would be a different story.
That would be a different story, of course.
So this was written by
Yes.
Katherine Mansfield,
Mansfield. Yes, this was written by
who she
Katherine
must have been in
Mansfield.
England,
New Zealand,
New
yes, but
Zealand.
very
So you
influenced.
you
Yes, she's a
modified it a little bit, at least in terms
yes,
of names and currency
yes,
to fit the Indian
currency. Yes,
context.
yes, that's about it. Yeah, because I think even I when I was reading, I was not able to relate to the currency, so I thought maybe I should
Sure.
adapt it to an Indian context with some Indian names and places and stuff like that. Yeah.
So what about the story do you especially love?
Uh, I thought it was a very interesting story when I first heard it. I just love the way it builds up and the final point where this girl, it's all about how she wanted to be kind to her, how she wanted to do so many things to her, but everything just is crashed. Everything is just disappears with that one comment. So the whole class and the class difference itself, the rich and the poor, which she's playing throughout, that I can do this for you. I will give you a life. I can take care of you. And how it's not money, but even when she finally wants to give her something, she chooses to give very little, just about 200 rupees, 200s. And that comment of the husband, which which kind of changes the whole paradigm for her, which I thought was very interesting. Something I was reflecting on about, you know, the woman, the mindset, and how important it is to be good looking in the man's eyes, and you know, all those aspects was very interesting for me.
Anybody? Thoughts?
I'm just trying to remember, was it intentional? Was it like psychological manipulation on the husband's part?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay, that is clear.
yes,
Good. Yeah.
What
yes.
what do you mean,
It does
Barry?
say that the husband loved the wife. He adored the wife. So he knew that there's only way, because it's actually a longer story. There's more conversation, which I really, the story would have been much longer when he realizes that she's too crazy and she has these great plans. And if he says no, it's a spoilt wife. She's always into spending things and doing crazy stuff. So he knows how to manipulate her. And with just that one call, he is able to, just break that for her. And all he says is, she's very pretty. And the wife just turns around. It's manipulated by the husband, yes.
Yeah, Eric, I think what am I going to say it right? Ramya? Did I say it correctly? Yes, what Ramya is saying is he knew that his first response was going to be, no, we can't afford this. And what are you crazy? We're taking in someone off the street. Don't be ridiculous. We have our life. But instead of going through all that, all he'd had to do is drop that little one thing. Oh, she's pretty. And he knew that would get his wife. Yeah.
Saroja?
Yeah, I just thought how the character first, is represented as somebody who has fabulous ideas. Maybe she wants to introduce this girl to a totally different world. But with all those things, after all, she is a woman. I mean, that seems to be uh, something which can never supersede any other desire or mission that the person could have as an individual. That's what I thought.
Yes, very true.
So I was wondering if that is also a parallel theme.
What was it? Parallel?
Maybe Ramya could tell us.
I missed the question. Was it a parallel?
No, I just thought whether Katherine Mansfield has also tried to show, for all her fantastic ideas and her consideration for this girl, that the superseding fact is that she is a woman when it comes to her personal life. When she thinks quite a few things, values are at stake, what overtakes is the fact that she is basically a woman.
Very true, Sarvaja, ma'am. When I was reading about the story and trying to understand the layers of the story, because it could just be a straight story, but there's so many layers to it. For this character, the Rajini, it's always even when she is thinking it's like an adventure. How will I present? It's like a toy. It's like a gift. It's like one of those. It was just like that snuff box that she would just place it and show off to her friends and say, I just picked her up, it was from the books. So it was that's the character sketch of this person who is, for her it's all easy, it's all just a toy, a gift kind of a thing. But whatever it is, however, that was her, that's what motivated her, or that was her kick initially. But that one comment, and I mean, she talks about the class difference in those times, and also a very feministic point of view is taken here in terms of how women look at themselves. I don't know, maybe there's a lot of shift from back when it was written to today, but how she views herself in spite of the money, in spite of everything. But that one comment of the husband who is appreciating another woman immediately, changes everything for her in just that one comment. So yes, that was interesting for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Ramya.
Thank you, Eric.
Wonderfully told and very interesting.